All right, guys, we're gonna get started in just a second. Waiting for everybody to join up. Okay. Okay. So here we had our market rally going into today's session, right? So yesterday we were discussing that price from this low to this high here. We have our 50% retracement right here, and that's the area I was looking for some sort of reaction. And we did have this run up towards our equal highs and ultimate buy side liquidity, this blue line up here. So those levels got taken out, and what's going to occur now is going to be a huge gap on SPY, as you guys could see, right? So the SPY is gapping at least $3 up here in towards these highs. Now this could be a point of potential, reversal for price right over here, right? Price can definitely, reject this 400 level, right? So this 400 level is going to act as a huge anchor, right? So we might get that run up into 400 and then potentially reject. So we do have that. If we break 400 and keep above these levels, we can see 402 levels, right, or potentially higher. But the main objective for today is potentially going to be this gap fill, right? That's what I'm going to be looking for. I don't know if today will fill the gap or whatnot, but that's what I'm hoping for at least, right? I'm looking for that gap fill to the downside. And how I'm going to go about it is using like my intraday trend holding technique, which is a 15-minute EMAs. And I want to see if price wants to hold off. If price breaks it on the 15-minute time frame, then I'm looking for some downside setups for ES here, right? So what we see is eventually, we want to see price going on here. We want to see price, run these equal lows at least, right? So from this low to this high here, we have now equilibrium down here, right? So I do want to see potentially price retrace back into it. Now, the first, drop, it's going to be a potential pullback, right? So this is going to be a potential pullback and then a higher low getting created. So once these levels get taken out, then we can start looking for some, clear setups to the downside. But for right now, I think the first 15-minute drop will be a pullback, and then we'll look to see what happens after that, right? The 1 hour, the 15-minute all look, pretty, it looks pretty strong, and we could even eventually tap into this 40.74 level up there as well if we really want to. Now, this could also be an area where we have a huge reversal for price, right? If you go on the 4-hour daily here, on the 4-hour effect. So what can occur is we push into this 40.54 level, right? Right, this 40.54 level can be also an area where price ends up rejecting, right? We can push all the way up there and end up wicking that area into, eventually dropping down below, right? If I could mark it out a little bit better. Yeah, 40, so around 40.56, excuse me. So 40.56.25. That's an area where I'm looking for price to potentially retrace into, or like push into before we can see a potential, drop or whatnot, right? Because I know typically off the gaps, right? Price tends to rally just to trap retail, and then so it has that early morning rally, right? Right when price opens, it tends to pull back slightly and then continue its rally, right? Just to trap the people that are trying to hop into longs, and then eventually we'll go for that potential gap fill that we're discussing. So that's what my main focus is going to be, looking for that gap fill potentially. Now we have these levels down here as well, right? So on a higher time frame basis, if you end up running these lows, then I'd look to see if these swing lows can get taken out, right? As long as this low is being maintained now, we'd like to see a continuation higher in price. So again, I want to see if price can pull back in towards these equal lows right here eventually, and fill the potential gap that was created on price from yesterday's close. So that's going to be my main objective, seeing how that reacts. But yeah, that's the main thing I'm looking for today's action, right? We'll have this probably run up continuation into this, above these levels, right? And then we'd potentially see some sort of rejection coming into the market open, right? With that being said, that's my main thesis on SPY again, right? Seeing how this 400 level, gets reacted to, and then would like to see again a reaction off of that level, right? This 400 area. Going over to Tesla here, right? So our pivot points from yesterday that we were discussing worked out fairly well, right? Price came off this zone that we drew out, right? It ended up dropping in towards this bottom zone and eventually in towards this gap fill area, and it didn't fully fill the gap. So what we can end up doing right now is we can modify the chart a little bit, right? But the levels are still the same, right? We can see that run up. So off open, if we gap up, we're gonna push in towards these highs here, right? We're gonna push in towards these highs up here, and this like 193.50, 193, this area, and even 194 maybe. And we're gonna potentially reject or continue higher in towards these upper levels, right? That's how I would see Tesla playing out today. I'm maintaining the same pivot points, and I'll just probably add this level down here as well, right? So these zones are still valid in price, right? And price can definitely still react to these zones. So if you see it breaking above this in towards these zones, or if it rejects this level, it can end up retesting this level and end up filling the gap for the downside as well, right? So that could be one scenario that could play out here on Tesla, right? And I'll be looking forward to that. But I don't really trade these, so I mostly focus on ES, so that's where my main attention is going to be. Here with Apple, in just a second, we'll go and do more analysis on ES, right? See some potential, outlines for it. Here we see Apple gapping up above these levels here, right? So this area is going to be a huge pivot point. We might end up getting, so if 159, 160 ends up, if 159 holds, we can see 160 in towards this potential gap fill up here. As you guys can see, right, the levels are still the same here, right? Looking to see how price wants to enter this zone, if it wants to, right? So we are getting that gap up off this, drop here, right? So we're gapping up $2 on Apple, and we're, going to gap up into a supply zone. So we'll see how it reacts off that supply zone, if it wants to reject or continue higher, right? And then we'll see how that plays out. Yeah, so again, with ES, let's go back to it a little bit. Also, guys, I'd appreciate if you could leave a like. That would help out a lot, right? Also, subscribe if you are unsubscribed. I would appreciate that. So, moving forward, what we're seeing here, again, let's just do a little deeper dive into ES here, right? I want to go a little further in. What I see here on ES, let's just discuss some long-term views potentially, or MES, right? So what I'm thinking is a couple scenarios, right? We are still ranging in this consolidation, right? It might not seem like it's consolidating, but it's, the way it's panning out. Let me fix this a little bit. Excuse me. Let's go here. right? It's still consolidating in this range in some sense, right? In a sense, right here, right from, right? It's still consolidating here. So once this general area breaks, we can, like, I want to see price expand out of this area, right? We can see some large range movements off price. So that's what I'm really looking for. I still do think that we can potentially end up pushing towards this high here, right? 4101 would be one of my targets of interest. As long as this daily and weekly hold up, we can definitely see those levels, right? We want to see price expand higher. But if you end up rejecting this 4057 level, which is quite important, right? It's, it's going to be important in this area here as well. 4052, 4053 area, right? All important levels. If we do proceed to reject that level, then we're going to see some continuation in the downside, right? In the upside, right? Excuse me. If you reject those levels, we're going to see some potential drop or reversal to the downside. That's what I meant to say, right? For us to see continuation to the upside, we need to run past that high, right? So this 4073 level needs to get taken out for us to continue to the upside, like on a higher time frame basis. So I need that level to get completely taken out, and eventually 4120, right? If that gets taken out, then we'll see these highs up here. But for right now, the main focus is going to be how price ends up not only reacting to this 4050 level, right, 4055 level, going to today. I do think we can reach up there and then eventually reject, right? So we'll see how market structures itself off for today, right? And then if we do end up pushing in towards that level, right? If we do end up pushing to this level in the morning, right? Or into the afternoon session, then I'm expecting some form of rejection in the afternoon session for the downside into the gap fill, right? As you guys could see, right? Same thing with same concept would be applied with this 400 level, right? So if price pushes higher into this 400 level, and by that point it would be at 4057 area, then I'd look to see if price wants to, reject for the downside. So now here, what I'm looking for, as this higher low is created in price, I want to see if price can eventually break that higher low and, have its, move to the downside for that. Now, considering news today, like on forexfactory.com, there's 10 a.m. pending home sales and 10:30 a.m. crude oil inventories, right? And tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. there's final GDPs and employment claims. So what could end up happening is that this gap could be, left off for even tomorrow, right? So the GDP claims, if it's bearish, you can drop it down in towards those levels, whatever the case may be, right? But for right now, I am still expecting, to get that little early morning rally in towards these highs, take these highs out on market open. But, that's my main thesis with it. There's equal highs above here, right? There's some equal highs, right? Relative equal highs here. You have your buy side liquidity up there, right? If I mark it out, all right? So you have your relative equal highs, right? So this is an area where price can pull into and eventually potentially reject, right? And we'll see some adverse reaction off that. Again, we have some equal highs up here as well. And then, you have a lot of equal lows below, right? A lot of equal lows below. Relative equal lows, equal lows, equal lows, equal lows, equal lows, equal lows, equal lows. You have a lot of equal lows below. So this might be setting up for some downside later on. But for right now, I do think off open we'll get that push higher, right? Just to trap people that are trying to go long, right? Get the market sentiment for the upside, then eventually reverse off of it. Any questions so far, guys? Any ticker suggestions? If not, I'm gonna call it here for the day, right? Because that's the only thing I'm watching is SPY or ES, right? That's the only things I'm watching, and it's my main focus on the day. Also, if you're not following my Twitter, make sure you go follow my Twitter. The link is in the description, right? I'd appreciate that. yeah, the only ticker you need is SPY, right? You don't need to focus on anything else. Just master SPY and you should be good. Well, that's it for me today. I'm going to go on the Discord chat to live trade. If you're interested in Discord chat, it's in the description. But with that being said, I'm going to head out for now. And I'll see, as you guys can see right now, we're already running these equal highs up here, right? So we'll probably get an adverse reaction either off, as I was about to leave, right? It did that. We'll get an adverse reaction off this level or these highs up here, right? So that's going to be important. But with that being said, that's it from me today. And yeah, just watch this high right here, 40, 40, 75, and this 40, 56, 25 level, which are all going to be important. But yeah, take care, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next session.